Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Preview. I am Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Joining me as always, Deputy Dave Schofield, Bryan Anthony Davis, Executive Draft. Wow, his name, if you're watching live on YouTube, his name changes every week. It gets more and more grand. He is now the Executive Draft King. We're going to talk about that in a second. I'm going to kind of bypass the introductions because we have a lot of stuff to talk about prior to getting to the thick of things. First and foremost, if you're aware of what's going on in the NFL, next week, the Steelers preview is going to be morphing. Next week is the first round of the NFL draft. We are going to be doing something very special. There was once upon a time, not too long ago, we had talked about having a big draft party in person here in Western Maryland. Clearly, COVID-19 had different plans. Therefore, we are going to do a watch party next week with you, our YouTube family, where basically what you're going to do is we're going to watch the first round with you, and we're going to talk about the picks. We might predict who's going to go. We might spoil some picks for you because I love doing that. I don't know why. I've always loved doing that, watching Twitter, and they announce who gets picked beforehand, and you tell everyone who gets picked. But still, that's going to be next week. So next week, it's not going to be your standard three-person show. Maybe we'll get Lance in here. Maybe we won't. And we'll give you some details on that next week. Also, coming up on Monday, the Steelers Q&A. Bryan Anthony Davis, he did a mock draft this past week. He's doing another one this upcoming Monday, but he needs your help. Bryan, go ahead and give us the rundown as I put your email address up here on the screen.
All right, it's your show, and you get to draft. You get to be the GM. So we're going to have 33 spots. 33 spots for the first round of the draft and the Steelers pick. We're going to pick them out of a hat. We just need to get all spots filled. Currently, we have 5 spots remaining. So only the next 5 people that go ahead and put into this email, badavis8889@gmail.com, will go ahead and get in. We, like I said, we have 28 spots filled already. So we're really excited to go ahead and do this. Now, here's the catch, though. You have to be able to be available for the Steeler Q&A at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, April 20th, because that's when we're going to do it. So I'm hoping to get everything out to you already, and we'll go ahead and do that as soon as we get to 33. So I'm seeing here that Michael O'Malley, he tried to email. He's electronically challenged. I tell you what, Michael, be there. I'm writing your name down. You're in. We've got 4 spots. So with that being said, go ahead and get into us, and we'll take it. We'll get it taken care of.
All right. So then the email is on the screen. If you're listening in audio platform, it's badavis8889@gmail.com. Again, badavis8889@gmail.com. Because our podcasts have been being pushed out closer to noon, there's a good chance these spots will be filled by the time we get this podcast out to our audio platforms. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It should be exciting. The lead up to the draft is here. Deputy Dave, you're with us. What do you think? What's going on? How are you feeling coming up into the draft week?
I feel like I totally screwed up Tuesday and didn't realize that Bad had 3 8s in his email. I think I only did 2. So if anyone tried to do it from the Stat Geek show, yeah, you got to try again.
Well, we're down to 3 spots now.
Okay. Hey, I was going to say, did you respond to people and let them know that you got it and they were in? Or very good. Very
everybody
good.
Everybody has put in knows that they're in. So there you go. We're down to 3 spots, and looks like if we're as soon as we're done, I'm going to go ahead and do the draft. I have NFL poker chips, so I'm putting them all in the hat, and I'll add 2 extra for Miami, 1 extra for the Raiders, and so on and so forth. And we'll just go ahead and pick them out. I'll tape it. I'll video it just so everybody can see it. But it's really exciting. I can't wait to see this done.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. And so we will be with you. This is a big week for the site. It's a big week for the National Football League. I think we should just be really, really stoked. And I know that's like a bro-ish term to use, is stoked. We should be really excited that there is a draft going on, even if it's virtual. Even if Wang Harbs is going to complain about hackers hacking into his system and taking long snappers in the first round, we all should be super excited that this week it's not about anything with the coronavirus and COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. It is about the NFL draft It's Christmas Day for Steeler fans, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So we're going to be there with you every step of the way. But before we do that, we have the headline for tonight's show. And the headline for tonight's show is, what is the best case scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this 2020 draft? Not with their top pick in the second round, pick number 49, just overall their best case scenario. Now, before we get to the guys' thoughts and opinions on this topic, and by all means, if you're watching in the live chat, fire away. Let me know what your best case scenario would be. Pro Football Focus, they gave their best case scenario. I wrote this article earlier in the week, and they said that the best case scenario for the Steelers would be to add depth along the offensive line. And it wasn't just interior, it was all across the board. And they mentioned how their players are getting older. They lost players like BJ Finney, Matt Filer is the youngest player, and they're trying to move him around. Wisniewski is not young by any stretch of the imagination. That's their best case scenario for the Steelers, but I want to get what your take is. Deputy Dave, we'll start with you. What is your best case scenario for the Steelers in the 2020 draft?
Okay, while you were talking, I changed mine 3 times because of various things. Because my first instinct was going to be the best case scenario was that the Steelers will be flying in their pick really fast every time it's their turn, because it's going to be so obvious that somebody's there that they didn't expect, and they can grab them. That would be a really good case scenario. But if you're talking about what they come out of things with positionally, I'm actually going to say this. The best case scenario is that the Steelers have to ask questions about these rookies actually having a chance to compete for a starting role. Right now, we're thinking that the Steelers are going to be drafting guys for depth, guys for the future, because they got older guys on the offensive line, but they're set with their, we have a pretty good idea who the starters are, especially on defense, although we don't know what their Steelers, not they don't have an answer, but what they specifically have as their plan at nose tackle. We're not exactly sure what that is. But other than that, they have a lot of starters, and we're looking for depth pieces. But if the Steelers have such a good draft that you're like, no, wait a second, this guy could actually come in and bump off somebody else in order to take that spot on the depth chart, that's a good thing. So if you're talking about their rookies, none of them need to start right now. There's not a position out there that they have to have a rookie start. But if you're talking about having rookies fighting for starting jobs, that means the Steelers had a really good draft.
It's a good point. What about you, Brian? What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I've changed this a few times over the last few weeks. I'm starting to think more and more that a top flight running back, if one of the big ones is there and falls to him, that might be the best case scenario. So I'm looking at J.K. Dobbins. If J.K. Dobbins drops, I say you just grab him. And that would be the best case scenario.
I think that I kind of agree with it. Both Dave and Brian are both. I agree with what you're saying. I think the best case scenario is that they're able to find multiple playmakers early in the draft. So we're talking, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, day 2 is rounds 2 and 3, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So like day 2, they get 2 players that are considered players that could come in and make an impact right away. Might not be as a full-time starter. Maybe it is a J.K. Dobbins in the second round who could spell James Conner, or maybe he makes his own niche in the offense. Maybe it's a wide receiver. Maybe it's a safety that can come in and be that hybrid safety defensive back that they pretty much need. And we'll talk about that a little bit today as we highlight and preview the defensive backs here on the show a little bit later on. I think that's the best case scenario. I didn't agree with what Pro Football Focus said, and I normally kind of do agree with them. I'll say that. I don't think that just coming away with offensive line depth is considered a best case scenario. When we're talking a best case scenario, we're talking about this is the best possible thing that could happen for your team. And if they come away with nothing more than just quality depth, I don't think that's the best case scenario. I'm not saying I'm going to be upset if that happens. I just don't think it's going to be a best case scenario. Does that make sense to you guys? Did I word that well enough?
No, I like that.
Okay. So let's talk about positionally. We're a week away. If you were to just pick a position that you think they're going to go with, Brian, I think you just kind of did say yours. Would you say if you were to predict not the pick, but the position that they're going to target, you going to go with running back? You going somewhere else?
No, I'm not going with running back. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm predicting an edge rusher.
Okay. What about you, Dave?
Same. I think it's
So both of you are taking
because
edge?
yeah, well, I'm working on an article. It's funny because Tony had one today about how the Steelers should, he's starting to think that they need to take a running back. I had something I'd been working on myself that now it seems like a rebuttal, like I'm doing point counterpoint in place of Brian.
That's okay.
The last thing I want is the Steelers to feel like they have to take a certain position. That's the worst case scenario for them. I mean, bad things happened when they did that in 2016, and now some people might argue, well, that's what they did last year. They keyed in on inside linebacker. No, they keyed in on a player and they went and got that player. If they would have just keyed on that position, they would have reached at their pick when all the guys they wanted were gone. And that's what we don't want to have happen. Forget keyed in on a position. And what I think is even shocking is that so many people are thinking they need to key in on offense. That's why I think it's going to catch people off guard. And some fans are going to be upset that if the best player available is on defense and that's going to make a difference, I think the Steelers should grab them.
Now there's someone in the live chat. I think they're going to go defense. And I think there's going to be a complete upheaval among Steeler fans, and they're going to completely melt down. But I could see them definitely going. And James Calbaugh says, I don't know how to say this. The Michigan linebacker, UCHE is how you spell. How do you say that name?
I think it's Uche.
Uche or Uchi? I don't know.
But anyways,
Uchi sounds like something
I like
Charo
Uchi.
would say. Uchi.
Uchi. Way down.
God, can you imagine the Yinzer with Uchi? I went downtown to Heinz Field and saw Uchi play. Man, that guy's tough in that.
But I like that guy.
So funny.
I don't know if he's a second round top pick, but he's that hybrid player. He's that player that I think could. Heck, he played edge and he played inside. That's best case scenario if you ask me. Kill two birds with one stone. I like what Dennis said. Just say ugh. I don't know how to say his name. Yeah. But I like that type of player. I think that would be a good pick, but I could see them going defense in a multitude of positions. They take a safety, one of those bigger safeties, bigger body safeties, think of like a Morgan Burnett type. I'd be fine with that too, because that guy's probably going to play. So I don't know.
Shocking.
We'll see.
Like I said in one of my mock drafts, I actually ended up, because one fell, which I don't think is going to fall for real, that I actually, one mock draft had the Steelers taking an inside linebacker. And some people would be like, why would you draft that as your top draft pick 2 years in a row? Do you want to know why you do? Because if there's someone there that you never would have expected to be there at 49, and it's a position that that they're going to see the field at least a little bit, you take them. That's what you do.
Yeah. Kevin Johnson gives us $9.99 in the tip jar. We really appreciate that, Kevin. And he says, hello, BTSC family. Looking forward to doing the draft of the King on Monday. Dad, I cannot pull any AFC North other than the black and gold, please. That's going to be tough. You're going to have to give people the Ravens or the Bengals. Well, Bengals would be easy. If you pick the Bengals, it's kind of like I'm done. I'll take
you know what?
Are you prefacing it with you got to be legitimate? Like you're not going to have the Bengals take a kicker. Okay.
Yeah, I have all veto ability, and because I had to tell Tony the other day on the show, I'm like,
veto Mankin.
You cannot give the Patriots a punter. I mean, or the Ravens. I mean, because he was picking for both of those teams. And I was like, you can't do that. I mean, it would be fun. We're not going to have trades either. And just because it would be way too confusing for the platform that we have. We could talk about, I think this pick might be traded, but if they're staying here, this is who they're going with. So, that's what we're going to do. And I just want to throw in something because I was just joking about Tony wanting to pick a punter. Dave, be careful with any Tony headline because every day is April Fool's Day when Tony writes an article. You never know.
No, I actually read the article last night because I'm like, wait a second. This is the exact opposite of what I was going to write for tomorrow. Now I can't write this because Tony did the other thing. I'm like, I'll save it for the next day. So, but no, I understand where he's coming from, but people still think I'm the anti-running back guy. I'm not. So many people were screaming running back. And first of all, I don't see it. There was a major flaw in Tony's article. He says there's no obvious backup to James Conner. I'm going to say I said you might be right because I actually see some people thinking Benny Snell Jr. could actually challenge Conner for the number one role. That's why they don't have a backup is because they actually have two. You'd be surprised, but seriously, the numbers back up that Benny Snell is a solid backup at least. So to say they don't have one, I think is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, back to the whole point. To lock in on one position gives you Artie Burns. That's what it does. To say the Steelers got to go running back, next thing you know, all the guys that you think you wanted to take are gone, and you end up reaching. Don't do it, fans. Please don't get locked in on one position. And like I said, on the Stat Geek Q&A Tuesday, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to with the draft is I finally want to know who I can fall in love with and not be disappointed. Because to fall in love with any one guy right now, and then next thing you know, they're wearing that ridiculous orange color from Northeast Ohio or something like that of someone that I so wanted to be a Steeler. It's just frustrating. I don't want to fall in love with anybody until I know that they're going to be a Steeler, and then that way I know that they can be our guy.
The more I think about it, the more I think that next Thursday is going to be really cool for our show. A lot of people might think like, oh my gosh, I view it this way. Would you rather tune in to our channel and watch the draft with us with your televisions on mute so you don't hear the talking heads, or would you rather listen to the idiots on ESPN or NFL Network spout off about just dumb stuff? I can't speak for anyone else, but I'd rather sit here with Steeler fans and watch, and so I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a watch party. You're not going to hear me, trust me, you're not going to hear me or Lance give expert analysis on the draft. It's all going to be reaction. It's going to be, they took who, what, really? It's what it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of fun. I definitely hope that you all mark your calendars to tune in. I think it starts at 8:00. We will be live at 8:00 to probably see the Cincinnati Bungles take Edward Smallhands, Joe Burrow, in the first overall pick from LSU. It's the first thing that came to mind.
And then for pick 5, they're going to trade him. We're going to go back to the old 2000.
I do think there's going to be some trades going on, and I think trades are a lot of fun. I think they're exciting, except when the Steelers are involved. And so Dave and I are going to have to we might disappear for a bit if we have to write some articles, but for the first round is what we're going to do. Now, the second round, in case I saw someone ask, what about the other rounds? In the other rounds, we're going to give a reactionary show to the pick, and then we'll do a wrap up at the end. So, let's say in the second round, they take J.K. Dobbins. We'll hop on. We'll do about 30 minutes maybe about the pick. Yeah, yada, yada. Yes, I just yada, yada an NFL draft pick. And then after the third round pick, we'll kind of get on and recap day 2 and stuff like that. So there you have it. That's what's coming up. I'm excited. The NFL draft is an exciting time, but we have to preview our very last position group. We had 2 weeks really, but we crammed them all into one and decided to do defensive backs, not just cornerbacks, not just safeties. We wrapped them all up into one. Craziness because the Steelers signed 4 players today. I don't even know how many people they have on their roster anymore. They just keep adding XFL guys. 3 of these 4 were former XFL athletes. I think that takes their number to 7. I feel very comfortable in saying they probably have the most XFL players on their roster. 8 now. Okay. I haven't seen any other NFL team signing this many XFL players than Pittsburgh. Is that good or bad? I don't know. But 2 of them were defensive backs. So take that for what's worth. If you're asking me about them, ask Dave. Dave, you wrote that section of the article. What did they get today? 2 offensive linemen, right? A center, a tackle, and then 2 defensive backs?
A center, a tackle, and 2 defensive backs. I don't know for sure if they were corners or safeties. It might be guys that could play either one of them. And I can't remember the names. What was the one? Sparks? He was the one that was the XFL. It was the other guy that actually played. He played with Jacksonville. He played 11 games with Jacksonville last year, started 2 games. They moved him to the practice squad with like 4 games to go. And for the last game of the season, the Redskins poached him and had him for the last week of the season, and then signed him to a futures contract. And then they just released him not even a month ago. And that's who the Steelers picked up. I really wish I could remember the name right now, but I can't. I'm really sorry. There was 4 players. It's hard to remember all those names.
That's the kind of guy, though, that, he's starting experience in the NFL. He started 2 games. He got poached for a reason. plays in the XFL. That's a guy that you might be talking about late in August.
Borders. Sorry.
It's true.
Breon Borders. Yes.
Yep. Borders was the one who played for the Jaguars, and it was Springs that was the XFL defensive back. Thank you very much, James Kelbaugh.
Yeah, you're Breon Borders. So, hey, they picked 4. It's really rare, and I've been doing this for a long time, that the Steelers will announce, and we signed 4 players today. They might pair them together, but it's rare that they say, and 4 players are new. And you're like, oh my gosh, got to talk about 4 players. Dave did all the back end work on that stuff. But so yeah, very good. By the way, we have 115 people right now watching live. We ask that you do us a huge favor, and it doesn't take anything, that no monetary value. You like the show, just do it right now. Close the live chat, hit the thumbs up, go right back to the live chat. If you do that right now, you'll be back in the live chat before I'm done with my spiel. So like the videos. We appreciate all the support. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and set up your notifications that you always are notified whenever we go live. Yes, Dave, you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, just so you know, because I know some people are like, oh, there's only so many likes. Unless you close out YouTube and open it back up, it doesn't update the likes for you. If you're the 5th person to like it, it's going to say 5 likes. Right now, when you were saying that, I closed it and reopened it, and we had 42. I'll do it again in a couple minutes and see if it gets higher.
And you know what? When you said that yesterday during the Standard is the Standard, when I was viewing and Dave wasn't, I did exactly what he asked me to. It took me a millisecond. Boom, hit like, I'm back in.
Yep, very good. And we appreciate that. We really do. Let's get to this preview, shall we? The defensive backs, the safeties, and the cornerbacks. So let's go cornerbacks first. Let's go with Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, Cam Sutton, Mike Hilton, Justin Lane. Am I forgetting anyone of anyone of note? I know that Brian's going to bring out some name. Is Frank Webb a defensive back? I can't remember.
Frank Webb lives. Oh, I've got to say, Frank Webb can do it all.
Is it really Frank Webb?
It's Ralph Webb.
Oh,
Jeff.
Ralph.
You have been doing this for 15 months now. Ralph.
I've mentally convinced myself his name is Frank. So are there any other?
We have people in the live chat that are convinced now.
Are there any other cornerbacks? Everyone's saying like Dangerfield, Marcus Henton. We're not talking about safeties right now, just cornerbacks. We're going to get to safeties in a second. Am I forgetting any cornerbacks of note?
Of name? No.
Of note. No, though they've added some other guys. I'm trying to remember when they did their futures. I'm trying to check on it now if there was any that was on there. Alexander, is it Myers? Myres. He was on the practice squad for at least part of the season last year.
Yes.
That was the only guy originally signed to a futures deal. I know they've added some sense between the XFL and even some others, but no one that really contributed that we would know of note.
Okay, well, let's talk about the cornerbacks of note, the ones that I mentioned at the top of the segment. Guys, how's your confidence level with these cornerbacks? I mean, Steven Nelson turned out to be one heck of a pickup. Joe Hayden had a Pro Bowl year. I think Steven Nelson could potentially be a Pro Bowler next year, and maybe even better if he gets his hands on some more footballs. I only had 1 interception last year. But what about the depth? You have Mike Hilton in the slot. We know Cam Sutton has kind of carved out his own niche with a dime. And we don't know what Justin Lane is, other than a gunner on special teams. Brian, what's your confidence level with the cornerbacks on the Steelers roster?
I'm very confident in these guys. I still love Joe Hayden. What a year he had last year. He got paid and still showed up. In fact, the last 8 games of the season were even better than the first 8 games for Joe Hayden. We saw what we saw in Steven Nelson. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. The reason we don't know about Justin Lane, we didn't have to know about Justin Lane. We know him as a special teamer, and thank goodness. That's all we knew of him. I think he has great potential based on last year's when they drafted him. I really like this guy. But the fact that he did not have to play was a win. He got a whole lot of experience, and he's ready to go when there's an opportunity. And hopefully there's not an opportunity this year. If you have no opportunities for those young guys and they finally get a chance to get in year 3 or 4, then that's great. That's a great position to be in. As far as Hilton, we know what we have in Mike Hilton. You have very solid corners on that team. And those guys that I mentioned, I didn't mention Cam Sutton. That's a guy going into his 4th year. And like you said, he's your nickel guy. He's, helping out in the slot too. That's a guy that I'm really excited about as well. I think this is the deepest corner group that they've had in a long time. And it's not just based on potential, because we've seen good things out of 4 of those 5 guys. And once again, the only reason we haven't seen anything out of the Michigan Stater lane is because we didn't have to.
And maybe you all know this, and I think I remember when they drafted Justin Lane out of Michigan State last year, did they say that he can play inside and outside, or is he strictly an outside cornerback? Anyone remember?
I thought he was just outside.
I could have swore they said he had some experience playing inside. I think that matters. I think it matters a lot,
too, Jeff.
If he can play inside as well, my gosh, now you have, if he's a decent inside slot cornerback, you've got a lot of quality depth at almost every position, because we know Cam Sutton can play both. We know Mike Hilton I thought he had a redemption season last year. He didn't play well in 2018. I thought he stepped it up in 2019. And we know that their starting cornerbacks, in my opinion, are 2 of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League, one of the best tandems in the NFL. And I can't think, people want to talk about a bunch of other, who are the San Francisco 49ers with Sherman. And people can say, I'm not saying they're the best. I think they're one of the best. Dave, what are your thoughts on the cornerbacks?
Really like what we have. A couple weeks ago when Jeffrey Benedict was on Stat Geek, he's saying Mike Hilton did well last year because they had to cover for him a lot, that he does have some inadequacies that he doesn't like with him. That a lot of the times they were having to put, he benefited a lot from Minkah Fitzpatrick being over the top, but that allowed them to I'm like, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you're allowing Mike Hilton to play to his strengths, which is what you ultimately want to do with your players.
Yep. Let
them do what they're best at. I think between Hilton and Sutton, who could basically, he could play anywhere, including safety. He is your literal defensive back, can go almost anywhere. I wouldn't put him at strong safety, but other than that, he's free reign in there. And Justin Lane last year was the perfect season for him. We talked about it after he was drafted. We said the best thing for this guy would be to not be forced into action. And he played 0 defensive snaps last year, but he earned his helmet at the end of the season by playing great on special teams. So we don't know what we have in him, but we do know that he's someone that can go out there and play teams really well. And that, to me, that just tells you you're a player. And I'm excited about it, and I hope those guys still don't get much of a chance to get on the field, because that means that your main guys are healthy. It's the most confidence you could have in the Steelers secondary in a long time.
How funny is it that a great season for a rookie encompasses 0 defensive snaps? Yeah. We're all like, what a great year. It was a great year for him.
Well, we knew he was raw. We knew he was very athletic, but very raw, and he really needed to learn. And he wasn't forced into a bad situation, because sometimes that could ruin a guy. So know he wasn't ruined by having to play too early, which was fantastic.
You're right.
But look at all the experience he is getting in every day in practice.
Absolutely.
And, he's still learning. From great players.
I want to ask you guys a question about the cornerbacks in a second, but first, Anthony Johnson put $5 in the tip jar. Anthony, I know a couple guys in the live chat have already answered some of your question. He said, "Hello, fathers. Sorry if this has been asked already, but do you guys think Switz makes the roster and/or Mark Barron?" Well, we know Mark Barron has been released.
Well,
due to salary.
He did another super chat.
He did another.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
I put
it up there. He gave another one. Dang, man.
Yeah.
All right, here he goes. Anthony Johnson gives another $5. He says, "I'm an idiot. Apparently, Barron got cut."
You know what?
True Steeler fan. That's what he.
Seattle has 2 losses.
I don't love that he made the comment.
I
don't love that he made the comment. I love that he paid another $5 to make the comment.
I love
Kudos to Anthony. I love it.
I felt like I owed it to him. We think Switzer is going to make the team, right? Anyone disagree? He's Ben's boy, and we know that carries some weight.
Receiver.
So we'll see.
If they draft one, it's going to be tough.
You know what? I took some heck the other day on one of the shows that I was on. I'm not sure which one, but it was in the BTSC platform, for saying that Switzer is a weapon. And Switzer is actually a weapon when he's with Ben, because Ben will find him and find ways to find him. And if you have other guys running around and he could find Switzer, for a first down or in the end zone, he could be useful to this team because Ben thinks he's useful. So if he's there, Ben's going to try to find him.
If
it's 3rd and 1, Ben will send him on a 2-yard route and he will get no yards after the catch, but it'll at least be a first down.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm fine if Switzer makes the team, but it's who doesn't make the team. You know what I mean? Who doesn't make the team? So Barry Switzer has been.
I tell you what,
lives.
Frank Webb lives needs to put a picture up because he needs to put a picture up there because I think he's hilarious.
It's going to be a picture of Ralph Webb. That's what it should be.
Oh, it was on Lance's show. That's because I remember he gave me hell about it too.
Yeah. Okay. Quick question about the defensive backs before we go over to safety. Now, how much do you think maybe a changing of coaches has helped? Because obviously they bring in Bradley after they get rid of Lake, and then we all know. Correct me, come on, guys. I'm drawing a blank. The other defensive back
Terrell
coach.
Austin.
Yes, they bring in Terrell Austin. How big of a deal is that, in your opinion? Or do you just think they're getting better players? But it certainly seems like the defensive backs have been playing better under this group compared to past groups. Some might say it gets broken down even as much as now Keith Butler is scheming the linebackers and not having to worry about the back end as much. Thoughts on that, Dave?
Cause and effect. Are the players better because of better coaches, or the coaches looking good because they got better players? I mean, adding Steven Nelson was huge, and we didn't even know it. So it's how much can you credit that to the coach?
The Steelers knew
player?
it because
it's
the
hard.
Steelers knew it.
Yeah, because they paid
him. Went out day one again.
So I don't know. It's probably the best answer is probably it's the combination of the right players with the right coaches is probably your real answer. And I hope that's not a Dave answer, but it's true. It's that they got the right players and the right coaches for those players, and it's all coming together. And they're not relying on a linebackers coach to coordinate all of the secondary. They're doing a good job with having other coaches to help with those. With that aspect of the game. So I don't care how it works. It's working. And I say, that's
right. Yeah.
What I'm thinking here is the fact that it's a lot about the coaches. Of course, all the players have talent, but you've seen in high school situations that a lot of high schools have the same type of talent. It's who's putting the talent together. The only reason I bring that up about the coaches and talent is Bud Dupree. He's not a defensive back. I know he's not, but a coaching change really changed his play in 2019.
That's
with Joey Porter not being there, with Butler helping out. He was free to unleash, and he really did. He had a great season. He got that contract because of it. He would have not gotten that type of money elsewhere. If a poor performance, if it was another 6-sack season, he just wouldn't have. He would have gotten a contract, but not quite like that. So you look at the same situation, Carnell Lake, year after year, that was a suspect group. And when they changed it over, and you have Terrell Austin, who was a defensive coordinator at the NFL level, taking care of those guys, they just changed the culture a little bit. They made some tweaks. So what happens with a good coach, it makes good players greater. It makes average players good, above average. That's so a good coach helps out every single time.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I got a little distracted there because the live chat. I love our live chat. I really do. It's a fun place.
Anthony Johnson. I saw you laughing though.
He puts another $5 in the tip jar. His total's at $15 tonight. Appreciate the analysis and entertainment, guys. Stay safe and wish you well in this COVID situation. But the best part is these responses to him. So it's like Michael O'Malley, AJ spending that COVID check. Dennis, Anthony Johnson spending all his relief money in the chat. Scott Hudson, I think Anthony Johnson got his stimulus check.
Hey, we love you, Anthony. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, man.
Yes,
You
is
have to be
see-
able to laugh at yourself. You have to be able to laugh at yourself, and no one can say that more than Brian Anthony Davis.
Exactly.
He has lived through 2 a.m. stories, through the touchdown zone, the
Seattle
Yeti
has 2
girlfriend.
Seattle has 2 losses.
2 losses. All right, let's wrap this up here with the safeties. We have Minkah Fitzpatrick, we have Terrell Edmonds, we have Jordan Dangerfield, Marcus Allen, a couple other no-namers. Guys, I am not that stoked about the safeties. I love our starting tandem, even Terrell Edmonds. I know I've been bashing him a little bit the past few weeks, but he could pan out. He's so young. No one's going to say anything bad about Minkah Fitzpatrick unless they're not that intelligent. What about the depth, though? I mean, seriously, it's bad. Brian, what are your thoughts?
What depth? I mean, you're going from Marcus Allen and Rodney Dangerfield. And there you go. He gets no respect because no one knows that his name is Jordan. The only thing they know about him, he has 2 great names. He has a great surname in Jordan for his first name because of Michael Jordan. Rodney Dangerfield, an absolute legend. That's the best part about this guy's play, his name. He's the 53rd man on the roster is really what he is, and he's depth. If they find better depth, then he is going to if they find somebody in the draft or somebody falls in their lap, he's not going to be there.
He is your up man on the punt team. That's who he is, which is a key role, but that's really his job. And his job is to step in case of emergency. And he's not terrible. He's much more serviceable than other options the Steelers have had in the past, but he's never a guy that's going to, a lot of times for your depth, you want to have somebody who could eventually be pushing, you want to get them on the field. That's not him. You don't want him to be on the field for defense, but if you have to put him out there, you will. Marcus Allen's one of those guys that Steeler fans wanted to have. Were ecstatic they drafted him out of Penn State, and then he went from being on the 53-man roster, but only active for 1 game his rookie year, to on the practice squad his second year, and was brought up at the end when they got rid of Cam Kelly. So as much as Steeler fans would love to see him do well, me being one of them,
Me too.
we just haven't seen that. So you can't trust it. So safety depth is a big concern. So much so that I right now think that if you're going dime, you're not putting another quote unquote safety out there. I think you're putting Cam Sutton out there.
I don't know.
You know what? This is something you may see next week. You might see 2 safeties taken. One maybe with the 3rd or 4th, one with the 7th. You could see that as a possibility.
Here's the other thing. There's another popular guy with Steeler fans out there in like the 5th or 6th. Well, it can't be 5th round. They don't have a 5th round pick in the 6th round that I snagged in some of my fantasy drafts because people asked me, and that is the safety from Clemson, Taylor Muse, who is listed as a safety, but really he's going to be an inside linebacker. He could be a hybrid player.
Tanner. Yeah.
So, what did I say?
I said Taylor, and I think you said Taylor. I think we both said Taylor.
Okay. I thought maybe I messed it up.
Looks like a Taylor. We'll say that.
Yeah.
All right.
Jeff just made him Taylor Muse. That's his new name.
So it's funny because if they draft him and another linebacker, he's a safety. If you draft him and another safety, he's a linebacker. So sorry, I missed Jeff's laughing.
It's okay. Isaac puts $2 in the tip jar, says, "Who the heck gave a dislike? Get the heck out of here." And then so Donald
I'm the
Nolan,
dislike magnet, I think.
Donald Nolan. No, all of our shows get like 2. Donald Nolan says, "I bet Lance gave the dislike." Always hating. That's right. He is the hater. He is the hater of the group. So, all right. Defensive back, we have realized that safety is going to be a need in this upcoming draft. Defensive back is in cornerbacks, probably not. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm putting on my imaginary dunce cap because I'm the idiot of the group, and we are going to do some trivia. Deputy Dave, are you ready?
Oh, yeah, mine's easy tonight because it's more of a discussion point because it's a lot of fun. Ooh, Brian, don't just start going off on random things other than this because then you'll take out the rest of my questions. Just to say you know more about what's going on. But I didn't go secondary.
I'll be quiet.
I didn't go secondary. I just went with fun. It was funny because sometimes I like to focus on specific plays that really stand out in my mind. On Stat Geek, I brought it up to my brother about, I remember sitting in his apartment watching the Super Bowl and watching the Tennessee Titans come up 1 yard short. And I asked him on the show if he remembered who was the inside linebacker who made that tackle to win the Super Bowl. And you guys don't watch my show, so you don't know the answer to that question, do you?
No, but I know the answer.
It's yes, Brian.
When am I allowed to answer? Is it okay?
Oh, you can answer now because this isn't even the
I
question. Go ahead.
Okay, didn't he end up in Pittsburgh? Wasn't it Mike Johnson?
It was Mike Jones.
Mike Jones. Okay.
Yes.
Mike Jones, and I think he ended up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, he was. It's crazy because I watched that play again. They're like, why would they throw short? I tell you, he had the angle and he made an amazing play. But anyway, that just got me thinking. Could you guys answer what is the fastest the Pittsburgh Steelers have ever scored in a game? What's the fastest that they ever scored in a game?
Would it be when Antonio Brown returned a kickoff for a touchdown against Tennessee?
That would not be. That's a good guess. Was that the opening kickoff? I'm trying to remember.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. Well, I also know another one.
How would you ever have it faster? It was a reverse.
No,
it was a reverse.
Wrong.
Okay, all right.
Wrong. No, well, because you could also think about once again, it was against Tennessee that you had in 2002, Tommy Maddox to Hines Ward, but that was the first offensive play after
was it the safety? Was it the safety on the opening kickoff?
That's
against
your play.
Tennessee.
3
that
seconds
was in
in.
2006.
No, 2000 and it's been much closer than that.
Wasn't it really?
That was 2013.
Oh,
that was 2013. Not only was that the fastest score of a game, that was the fastest score in a season because it was their opening game of the season. In 2013 at Heinz Field, ball comes down. He doesn't let it get into the end zone, picks it up, steps back, takes a knee, safety. 3 seconds into the game, faster than anything else. But then I got to thinking about that game. The Steelers get the ball on the kick. Antonio Brown returns it. 8 plays later, they get to the red zone. And one of the worst plays of the season happens where Marquise Pouncey goes out.
Pouncey gets, yeah.
Who took out Marquise Pouncey's knee?
David DeCastro.
Most people think it was a Tennessee guy. It was David DeCastro. No. But that's not my real question. My ultimate question is, who played center for the rest of that game?
I was going to say Fernando Velasco, but he wasn't on the team yet, was he?
He was not. They picked him up that week, and he started the rest of the season.
So Cody Wallace?
For the rest of that game. It was not Cody Wallace.
Not the proctologist. It wasn't James Harrison, I hope.
How about Doug Legursky?
Nope.
That's a good guess.
Legursky's a good guess, but that's not it. Legursky
I don't know.
was already gone by then.
Someone said J.C. Hasnauer. He's probably in high school.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It was one Calvin Beachum.
Oh, that's right.
He came in.
He was awful. His shotgun snaps were horrible. They couldn't go.
Well, not only that, he was Zach Banner. He was the extra tight end for that game. And he had played, like, I think out of those 8 snaps where Pouncey was in the game, he played at least 3, if not 4 of them, because he was in as an extra tight end. Because he wasn't starting yet at left tackle. Do you know who was starting at left tackle?
Gosh, it wasn't Mike Adams, was it?
Yes, it was. It was Mike Adams.
So
just think of that. Oh, Marquise Pouncey goes out when you're already having to start Mike Adams on the offensive line. And it was David DeCastro's first opener because he was injured for almost his entire rookie year. It was just miserable. But it took a little bit for me to try to remember who came into center there. And it was Kelvin Beachum.
There you go. All right, Brian, what's yours?
All right, here we go. So we're coming up on the draft. So I want to talk about a defensive back that was a number 1 pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, they lost him the very next year in an expansion draft. What was his name?
Ooh.
Expansion draft.
Expansion
So,
draft.
Trying to think which one.
I don't
First
think it was
round?
the one with the Texans, was it?
My guess would
They
be
did
the
not.
Panthers and
The
Jaguars.
Steelers did not lose a player in the Texans draft.
That's why I said it wasn't that one,
Yeah.
because that was the Tony. Wasn't Tony Baselli the first one taken by the Texans?
I believe.
So would have been. So you're
I
saying
don't
it
know.
was a defensive back? They only had him 1 year, and then
had
they
him
lost
1
him?
year.
Hmm.
And this player went on to make the other team's Ring of Honor.
I have a feeling it's not. I feel we're going back way farther than the
We're
Jags
going
and
back
Panthers.
far.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm not
I
sure
don't
who it
know.
is.
Dick
Okay.
Shiner.
It was not Dick Shiner. Greatest name ever. Dick Shiner. In 1975,
Yeah.
the Steelers picked a defensive back out of Michigan with their number 1 pick, a corner, named Dave Brown. Dave Brown was on the Super Bowl 10 team, and they left him unprotected because look at the depth that they had at corner at the time. And he went on to the Seattle Seahawks, played 10 years for the Seahawks, is in their Ring of Honor. He was that good of a player.
There you go. I did not know that. Did not know that. Is that all you got? That one question?
That was my one question. That's
all right.
why I was late for the show.
Totally.
Good old expansion drafts.
Well, I didn't know if you were going US.
And it had to be Seattle, of course. You know,
Yeah, of course.
that's what it had to be.
And
All right.
back in the time
Yeah.
when Seattle picked him, they had 0 losses.
Mhm.
Okay. I have 2 questions. We talked at the beginning of the show about best case scenario, and I mentioned that they can get playmakers, skill position players. So I'm talking about running backs, wide receivers. Easy question, in my opinion. You should know this. Everyone that's listening, unless you weren't alive, should know this. Who was the last wide receiver the Pittsburgh Steelers took in the first round? What year was he drafted, and who was it?
You cut out. Could you say that again real quick?
I said, who was the
last wide receiver the Steelers took.
in the first round? Who was it, and what year was he drafted?
I know who it was.
I think we had this recently, didn't we? Didn't Dave have this as a question?
It was.
He should know it
I don't
then.
know. It was Santonio Holmes.
Santonio Holmes.
I'm just trying to remember what year he was drafted.
It was 2006,
That
the
is
year after they
correct.
won the Super Bowl.
Right.
And
Now, who was the last running back that they took in the first round? And what year was he drafted?
2008. You can take it, Dave.
Rashard Mendenhall. No,
Yes.
wait. Yeah. I was going to say 2008. Yeah, that had to be the
Yeah.
most recent one, right?
Who
Okay.
wa- yeah, you're right. I went back. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what about after him? So who was after him? The
Would
next guy.
that
This
have been
goes back-
Worley?
You're right. Very good, Dave. What year was that? Tim Worley in what year?
Oh, that was that was 8? No, 80. Maybe it was.
It was in the 80s. It was in the
Shoot.
80s.
No, what's that?
It was in the
You
80s.
say it was? Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
I was going to say 87 was going to be my guess, but
Brian?
Can I steal?
Sure.
yeah,
89.
That is
And
correct.
the
Tim
guys
Worley.
drafted ahead of him
I knew. Yeah,
were Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders, Broderick Thomas, Derek Thomas, Troy Aikman. And then at number 7 comes the
Tim
Steelers.
Worley. All righty. So
Mm.
there you go. There's our trivia. There's our Steelers preview show. If you're fresh to this show, we have 120 people still watching on YouTube. Stick around. Literally in 5 minutes, we're going to be back with the after party. The headline for that is the best Steelers teams to not win a Super Bowl. I asked this question on Twitter. It went crazy. Had like somewhere there were 200 responses. I'm curious what you all think. So join us for that, as well as some other off the wall topics in the after party. Thank you for watching. Make sure you mark your calendars. Next Thursday, we will be watch party time, watching the NFL draft round 1 together here on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check us out. Make sure you like the channel, subscribe. We'll see you in a bit.